An Orwellian outrage or long overdue oversight? U.S. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is creating a new board to combat disinformation. The announcement came just a week after Elon Musk bought Twitter. So what might this new disinformation board mean for social media and censorship in the United States and beyond? Our next guest knows censorship well. Here to set us straight is Tony Lyons, president and publisher of Skyhorse Publishing. So, Tony, you proceeded with the publishing of several books that I know others tried to censor or prevent from being published. I'm thinking one by Harvard lawyer Alan Dershowitz, another by Robert Kennedy Jr. on Dr. Anthony Fauci. Let's talk about your publishing experience in a moment. But first, please share your thoughts on President Biden's new Disinformation Governance Board. Is it needed? Is it good for America, or is it taking us down a dark road? What do you think?
I think it's taking us down a very dark road. You know, this has been a period of increasing censorship, and the last thing we need is a government division that is specializing in censorship. So generally, you know, anytime there's going to be really comprehensive censorship, people are going to tell you that they're trying to protect you from something. That's a very common narrative. But what they're trying to protect you from here is obviously just things that they disagree with.
Well, I was going to ask, what do you think? I mean, who decides what is disinformation, what isn't, what is truth, and what isn't?
Right. I mean, there was a story in the New York Times about a month back that where somebody wrote in and they said that the role of investigative journalists has changed, and that it should no longer be telling both sides of a story, that what we really need now in this country is for journalists to tell us the truth. And that, I think, is the same fundamental error that President Biden's making, that we don't need people to tell us the truth. We need people to present us the information on both sides so that we can make decisions for ourselves based on what we think the information shows.
And the head of this Disinformation Governance Board is Nina Jankowicz. She actually spread some disinformation of her own prior to the 2020 presidential election, when she called the Hunter Biden laptop and emails a, quote, Trump campaign product. And we now know that wasn't true. Your thoughts of having her direct this disinformation effort? What's really going on here?
Yeah, it is really scary to have the government, you know, set up a division run by somebody like that to protect us from disinformation, when what we really need is protection from people like her, who are going to give us disinformation and punish us if we don't follow the information that we're given from the government.
And Tony, you've run into censorship, or at least some of your published authors have experienced that. So how prevalent is censorship in publishing? And is most of it a legitimate attempt to stop the spread of disinformation and get at the truth, or is something else going on here?
You know, the censorship that I've seen is in the same vein as what President Biden is doing now. It is a place like the New York Times. So the New York Times is trying not to protect us from real disinformation. What they're trying to protect us from is narratives that they disagree with. So when we published this book, The Real Anthony Fauci by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., we presented it to the New York Times in a whole bunch of different ways. We asked them to review it, and even though it was the best-selling book in America, they refused to review it. Then we asked them to run an advertisement, and they refused to take the advertisement because they disagreed with what the book said and stood for, even though they, you know, clearly hadn't read the book. So, you know, what we have is organizations like the New York Times, or like this new bureau set up by the government, purporting to protect us from censorship when in fact they're the censors.
How can we stop the spread of disinformation and at the same time prevent the squashing of free speech?
Yeah, so I think that one of the bright spots in this whole period is the fact that people in their own way are rebelling, that they're unwilling to be told what to do, what to think, and certainly what to read. So The Real Anthony Fauci was the most censored book in recent American history. You know, wasn't covered in any newspaper. You couldn't advertise for it. It was boycotted by bookstores and by libraries. I mean, you had to really work to find this book, and yet it sold 1 million copies. So I think when you look at things like that, you can see that the American public, isn't willing to accept this. And then even if you look at the Elon Musk story, and I think you're right on target when you comment that this new government bureau is coming right after the Elon Musk story of buying Twitter. And it really smacks of a defensive measure, thinking that they're going to try to counteract the freedom of speech that is going to be possible on Twitter under Elon Musk. But I think there's even more to the story there, and that is that Elon Musk is a very sharp businessman. And I think what he's doing is he's recognizing that the American public is desperate for more free speech, not more curbs on free speech. And that by buying Twitter, he's unlocking value, that people are going to flock back to Twitter. The idea that a president could be kicked off of a means of communication like Twitter is just shocking in a democracy where we need more dialogue and debate, not more, myopic thinking where there's only one truth.
Yeah, I don't think they'd do that to JFK, but it's okay to do it to his nephew, I guess. Tony Lyons, president and publisher of Skyhorse Publishing. Thanks for setting us straight today. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much.